Looking for a super fast and comfortable dress that you can whip up in half a day? Stay tuned.
Let it go, what's the use in holding on? Can we find a way where we could spend some time alone? You know where to find me, you know which way to go. As long as you love me, we'll be singing all night long. So take a
Hello makers, I'm Catherine from Stitchery, and today I wanted to do a sew along for the Paris Day dress from Rebecca Page. Now this dress is designed for knits or stretch fabrics, and it is so simple to put together. There are only a few pattern pieces and you can get this done in half a day. Plus it is so comfortable, it feels like you are wearing pajamas. So there are several views that you can choose from. So you have the cap sleeves as well as the 3/4 sleeves, which I chose to make, as well as a full length sleeve. You have a boat neck option, which is the one that I chose to do, and a scoop neck option that goes down a bit lower. But if you are a longtime follower of mine, you will know that I always prefer a higher neckline over one that is a bit more plunging. Now you also have a tiered gathered skirt. Now I decided to use some bamboo jersey fabric, and I got this fabric from Marshall's fabric here in Canada, and I found it to be rather see-through. So I actually interlined my bodice piece only. The rest of it, the skirt and the sleeves, I left just as it is, but I will walk you through that interlining process as well as we do this sew along. So we're going to start with the bodice. So I've already interlined this, and I just used the exact same bamboo jersey fabric, but in a solid cream, just so it wouldn't be so see-through. Now I'm just pinning the shoulders here, and then I want to mark the back because on a boat neck, it can be a little bit difficult to see here. And then we are going to stitch the shoulder seams and press it towards the back. Now, once that is done, it'll look just like so. And then you just need to lay out your pieces. I've got the back on the one side, and then I'm going to grab my sleeve pieces. Now with this, the sleeves do have a front and a back, so you want to pay careful attention to the notches. Now the notch in the center is going to match up to the shoulder seam line. And then we are going to place the back, which has double notches, on the back side of the bodice, and then the front goes along the front of the bodice. Now because this is a knit, it'll stretch perfectly and fit. You don't need to gather anything, and you shouldn't have to stretch it too terribly much. It should fit quite nicely. Go ahead and stitch that and then serge along this seam. So our sleeves are looking like so. We're going to first match up the underarm seam right here, and then we are going to go ahead and stitch up the sleeve here, going down the side of the bodice and up to the sleeve. So you're going to stitch that and then serge it just like we did. Do that to both sides, and when we turn it right side out, it is really starting to look like a bodice now. Now the next step that we need to do is to hem those sleeves. So I am just folding mine under and measure out according to the pattern. I like to measure out according to my cover stitch machine because I know how much I need to fold over on any hem, and if it's more or less, I alter the pattern when I'm cutting it out to do that. So you can also do that with a zigzag or a twin needle. Next up is the neck binding. So I am just taking the binding and stitching it together along the short side and then placing it right sides together. So we have it folded and we have the self fabric on the right side facing outward on both sides. Match up the center front and center back on the bodice as well as this neck binding. And then you are going to find those quarter points on the binding pieces and match that up to the side seams here. And then just go ahead and distribute the rest of the binding along the rest of the bodice that we have here. And once that is all pinned in place, then you can go ahead and stitch it. And I like to stitch it and then serge it just for extra security, and you can top stitch this if you like. And this is what it looks like right now. And now onto the tiered skirt. So with the tiered skirt, we are going to have 2 pieces of all 3 tiers. So with all of them, we are going to place them right sides together and stitch them along both short ends to form a very long cylindrical tube. So I am just going to start on one end. I like to pin the top and the bottom first and then just add a couple of additional pins. Next is very important because the pieces are quite long. Make sure you haven't twisted anything. You can't attach a twisted skirt. It will not work. So just make sure that's all lined up and then attach the same short end along this side, and make sure you repeat this for all 3 of the skirt tiers. So I am going to stitch along here as well as serge along each of these short ends. So it should look like this. And on the 3rd, which is the lowest tier, as well as the longest one, we are going to fold up the hem. And so I'm measuring the same amount that I did on the sleeve because I'm going to use my cover stitch, but feel free to do a zigzag stitch or a twin needle, just something that's nice and stretchy. Then the next step is to go in and stitch 2 rows of gathering stitches with your longest stitch length so that we can gather these tiers. And you can see that I start and stop my stitches right at each of the seams. Now I do this for a particular reason. So on the next tier that you have, you're going to do only one end is going to have those gathering stitches. The other one has nothing because that's where we're going to attach it. So grab that middle tier and find the centers of both of your tiers on the front and the back. So you've got it quartered between the side seams as well as the markings within center front and center back. Pin the side seams first. So go ahead, make sure nothing is twisted because that will just be infuriating later. Place those pins in. The next step we need to do is pin the center front and center back on either side. Now the reason for this is then we can evenly distribute those gathers between the front and the back. If you were to go all the way around this circle, it's going to be pretty difficult to make sure that you have even gathers all the way around. It's definitely possible, but it takes a heck of a lot more time. By doing it this way, you can pull the gathering stitches on either end of those side seams. Because you're pulling the stitches towards the center on each of the quarters, you're able to get a very nice and even gather with very little effort. So just go ahead and gather that up and then pin it in place once you have it fitting the next tier, which is that smaller sized tier. So I like to put in a decent amount so I can distribute those gathers and I don't have any puckering when I go to stitch this in place. So it takes a bit of time, but go through along the entire thing and then stitch it in place. And then I like to use my serger just to finish those edges. And it should look just like so. And along the top here, we have the 2 gathering stitches, and then we're going to grab our top tier, which happens to be our smallest one. We have gathering stitches along the top, but not along the bottom. So let's now attach the second tier to the first tier. So once again, with right sides together, match up those side seams. And every time we're doing this, be sure to put those quarter marks in with the center front and center back so we can match them up. And we're going to attach this the exact same way that we did that lower tier to the middle tier. Going in and matching this. I'm just going to speed this up just slightly since we've already seen this. And go in and pull gently. And when you pull on those threads, you want to ensure that you are pulling the bobbin threads. And you can see I've got that pinned. Go ahead and serge that. And we have our skirt finished right here. So you can see we've got 1, 2, and 3 tiers. Now to attach the skirt to the bodice. So with this, we have run 2 layers of gathering stitches along the skirt, and we are going to attach that with right sides together along the bodice. And just as we attached those skirt pieces to the tiers, we're going to attach the bodice in the exact same way. So on that bodice, we need to find center front and center back. So just go ahead and mark that. I like to match up the side seams and then pull to the end and just mark it in place. And then we can go ahead and pin, and I'm going to match up center front and center back first, as well as those side seams before I go ahead and start pulling those gathering stitches so that we can get this all gathered up. And going in here and just be gentle so you don't break any of those threads. I find that because this is such a nice slinky jersey knit fabric with the bamboo, it glides very nicely and gathers wonderfully well. And so make sure you're pulling the bobbin threads. It will be a lot easier to get this when you're pulling on the bobbin threads as opposed to the top threads. And then just stitch that all in place so you can see that I've got it all pinned. And now for the reveal.
Let it go, what's the use in holding on? Can we find a way where we could spend some time alone? You know where to find me, you know which way to go. As long as you love me, we'll be singing all night long. So take a minute to...
Now, this dress is so easy to stitch up, and I am so glad that you tuned in on this sew along. And if you have any other requests for some fun summer wardrobe pieces, do let me know. I am always down for finding new patterns. And if you want to check out some of my own patterns here on Sheer Stitchery, head down to my website below. I have an assortment of patterns in a large size range, as well as some freebie patterns. Until next time, makers, let's get our sewspiration on.